Welcome, everyone. I'm Erin Holloway, also known as the Mama Bear of Crypto. I want to welcome you to our session today. It's Bringing Crypto to Women and Why Representation Matters Now More Than Ever. I'm very excited to introduce our panelists today. First, we've got Natalie DeMary. Natalie is a co-founder and the interim director of CryptoFemme, and all of our panelists are associated with CryptoFemme today. The mission of which is to create a decentralized cooperative movement of women in crypto, centered around education and empowerment of the community. She also serves on the advisory board for South by Southwest, Start Out, and Empower Her. Welcome, Natalie. Next, I'm going to introduce M. Perry. Creatives, leaders, and visionaries partner with M to step into their spotlight with clarity, confidence, and consistency, by connecting to their inner wisdom and aligning their heart-led message with a sustainable plan that they can trust so they can get to know and grow their communities in a fun and fulfilling way. Now, as a producer and host of virtual events, M has shared the stage with hundreds of people worldwide. They are known for creating spaces where people have the opportunity to shine in their full expression. Welcome, M. Next, I'd like to introduce Hara Aramaya, who is a crypto mentor and works with those that desire a holistic investing experience. She guides people to navigate the DeFi realm and builds their portfolios with a sense of conviction, clarity, and balance. Outside of cryptocurrency, she guides others to build a healthy relationship with emotional and mental health through nervous system regulation. Hara was also a formerly registered nurse and is currently a healthcare recruiter for federal and tribal run facilities. Welcome, Hara. Next, we have Taylor Harrell. She is an award-winning, multi-talented serial entrepreneur. Taylor is a fifth-generation Austinite and native Texan. She created Lively Company, named after her baby sister because they're 21 years apart. And she's an active philanthropist. And in her spare time, Taylor chases after her golden blue-heeled puppy named Bella. And last, I'd like to introduce Lee Para, who founded the nation's first urban tiny house community in Washington, D.C. in 2012. As a geographer, she helps citizens and communities to envision and enact housing and land stewardship models that are driven and owned by them. She's mapped land tenure and natural resources throughout Latin America with the Citizens Group and NGOs, and she manages geospatial projects for the U.S. government. She's currently learning about blockchain technology and setting up a DAO with other community builders to share resources for more economical and sustaining housing models. So welcome all of my panelists. We've got a lot to cover today in a very short amount of time. I'm going to jump right in. Now, first, I'd like to turn to Natalie as the leader of CryptoFemme. And I'd like you to tell us more about CryptoFemme, your mission, your values, and the effect that you've had already in the crypto space.
Thank you for the introduction, Erin. My name is Natalie. I'm relatively new to crypto. Some people in our community go back 5, even 10 years. My background is digital marketing, and I first learned about crypto through a former client. And I was hooked, from 3 years ago. The moment I started learning about it, I started investing. I started realizing the implications of decentralized blockchain technology. I just knew it was the future and I wanted to pursue it more full time. So I founded CryptoFemme because, just months after working with this client and starting doing consulting for other clients, I realized that there is a severe lack of representation in crypto. I thought that CryptoFemme could be, a community that would help change this. Right now, only 15% of women invest in crypto. When it comes to blockchain and Web3 professionals, only 4% of women do that full time. So CryptoFemme, our mission is just to make crypto more accessible to women who are curious about it. Maybe they want to invest, maybe they want to start a career in crypto, and that's why we founded CryptoFemme.
Thanks so much, Natalie. Now, I'd like to open it up to the rest of the panel, but Lee, why don't you start us off? Can you tell us how you got involved with CryptoFemme and why?
Sure, yeah. So about a year ago, I was invited to a conference called the Taoist here in Mexico City. And I had started investing in crypto about 2.5 years ago, but everything I saw was all men. I got into it. My cousin had suggested it. I actually knew about Bitcoin back in the day. Someone actually wanted to pay me in Bitcoin in 2013 for a workshop they were taking of mine. And I was just like, I don't know how to do that, because all the guys I saw, all men, and they were all kind of like these weird open source developers who I knew through my tech space. And I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. Fast forward 10 years, I really wish I would have taken that money in Bitcoin, but I had started investing. It was all dudes that I saw in this space. It was a lot of like pump and dump and hype. But I still just like kept my main investing strategy that I do with regular investments and did some holding and some trading. Fast forward, and then last year I was at this conference, and all of these women, when they heard about this community building network I was trying to set up, were like, you have to incorporate this into the blockchain space. We need more women in blockchain. We need more women in Web3. You have a tech background. And what I soon came to realize is that you cannot participate in Web3 in blockchain without also being at least a bit crypto savvy, because in order to participate in those spaces, you need a wallet. Well, how do you get a wallet? How do you set that up? How do you do so safely? And then I came across Natalie. I don't even remember how, through some Telegram group or some Women in Web3 group. And I really liked what she was doing. And so I got involved. So that's my intro into the space.
Thank you, Lee. That's very, very insightful. Would any of the other panelists like to share their story on how they got involved with CryptoFemme? All right, let's crack on then. I'd like to turn to Hara and Em potentially for this next question. Tell me about some of the lessons you've learned with getting involved in crypto, and how do you avoid following the hype and the FOMO that is always, on the wave of crypto? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'll actually segue into the last question as well, in my lessons learned. I was in a group with Natalie, a crypto group that we've been in for about a year, and we got to see many lessons learned. And what I always appreciated about Natalie and the people that she surrounds herself with is always having emotional regulation, not following the hype and not following celebrities or gurus, and rather going really, really down to basics, understanding what your plan is for you and what are your goals, and to not keep chasing after things. And when there's like so many voices in the space, it was like Natalie was a breath of fresh air. And everybody that she has brought into CryptoFemme has kind of had that same guiding light in how we want to support other women and femmes in the space, and to know that they're not alone. Because that's one of the lessons learned for me, is that I thought I was so far behind in my financial literacy when I originally started that I got overwhelmed so quickly. And I made mistakes because of that. And because I was emotionally charged and thinking, oh, I'm going to be late, right? The FOMO, like I'm late, like, and it's like, no, take a step back, breathe. And that has been the culture of CryptoFemme, and really anchoring into what is your plan in education first. And I think that is, for me, the core of the lessons that I've learned. And I'll let Hara add to that, but that is really why I got involved, and also my own lessons learned.
Great, thank you, Em. Hara, let's hear about this from you.
Yeah, so just piggybacking off and also I guess segue to the last question as well. It's kind of intertwined together. So I got involved in CryptoFemme, same thing like everybody. There was a lot of men in the space, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it was a lot of like woof, woof, this like fraternity energy. Like that was sort of the energy that I was getting every freaking time. And so same thing, when I came across CryptoFemme, I'm like, wow, I can actually breathe and I feel calm and clear, and it's like okay for me to take my time, and just one bitter lesson that I really learned was just like literally flushing over 10K on joining this group that I was a part of for a while, which actually how I met Emmy, and I suppose that's how I also ended up here, because I really wanted to be in the right relationship with crypto instead of making it just this thing that it's all about hype and FOMO. And there's a lot of that culture, right, in the crypto space. And with every lesson learned, there's wisdom to it. So this is sort of where I'm really passionate now about nervous system regulation more than I ever was before. I mean, it was the type of work that I was doing before, and I actually was helping a lot of women get into the crypto space, on a more of a slow pace, like sustainable pace. And when I met this group, I thought kind of like you, I mean, I guess, I kind of had this like FOMO feeling like, oh my God, I must be missing something. Or that took over me for a little bit. And that was one of my bitter lessons, which brought a lot of wisdom. Very thankful for it in some ways, because I wouldn't be here otherwise. Very expensive lessons. That was like the lesson behind it. And I think what that has taught me out of that is just to really understand the importance of mindfulness practices and nervous system regulation. And I'm very much a spiritual person as well. And I understand that these are not separate things. Like spirituality and nervous system regulation all has to do a lot with money, financial literacy, and us as people who are born and socialized as women. I think we have almost like an how do you say this nicely, like an ahead advantage, because we have a strong sense of intuition. It's just a part of our innate being. And when we are taught how to harness that properly with a regulated nervous system, plus the proper knowledge in crypto, you can really run off this thing. Like we can really take this to the next level. And I think that is the key, is to really empower each other. And I think seeing familiar faces like femmes educating femmes is something incredible. I'm part of the queer community, so it's really refreshing to see this community in itself. And I think what's also really important, part of that lesson, is just to understand that it's really important for us going into the crypto space to be absolutely 1000% clear with your intention, motivation, and your why. Really knowing, why am I in here? What is my motivation? And where am I going with this? Is more important than anything, because then you can sort of match the way that you invest with the way that you feel, right? Everybody, like, I think a lot of people say like, oh, feelings are not important. I was like, it's actually really important. It's just, it has to be matched with that nervous system regulation. That's where it meets, and that's where the magic is. And if you can combine all of that, then we have a whole community of educated women who's really able to intuitively assess things, because common sense, and that can really grow an abundant money tree, literally. So yeah, so I think that kind of closes off my share. Thank you.
Thank you, Hara. It sounds like you need to marry both, right, the art and the science of investing, right? Making fact-based decisions, but also listening to what your needs are as an individual.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd like to go back to Natalie now, if I could. And Natalie, I'd like to give some advice from you for the women who haven't entered the crypto space yet, right? They're crypto curious. What are some best practices as they step, from the zero depth into the waters of crypto? And if you could you touch a little bit on the privacy and security element that might be what holds women back from taking that first step?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already touched on the not following the hype and FOMO in crypto. That's a very common pitfall that I've seen from beginners. Maybe they have their guy friend or their spouse or someone who's a little bit more experienced than them in crypto, but not experienced really relatively to serious investors. And these guys, we call them crypto bros. So they have an overabundance of confidence and a lack of experience, but they tell all their friends to invest in, different coins and tokens in crypto, and they expect them to 10x or 100x within the next week. And oftentimes they lose money. So, it's really important to, when you're first learning about crypto and you're looking at the projects out there that you could be investing in, instead of following the hype and the FOMO, look at the long-term utility of why this project even exists. What is it created to do? Does it look reputable, legitimate? Does it look like it has some serious founders, or is it just some hastily put together arbitrary meme coin? So that's one thing. Another would be setting yourself up for success. So privacy and security play a big role in crypto. While hacking is relatively rare, people always say, I got hacked. No, you didn't get hacked. You clicked on a phishing link. So sometimes people give scammers access to their wallets or their crypto accounts, and they lose funds that way. So 3 best practices for privacy and security. Number 1, have a VPN. Super easy software to download. Just have it running 24/7, and that protects your computer and your internet access. And number 2, have a password manager. This will allow you to have different passwords and logins for all the different software that you use, the platforms. Not that you need to have tons of software running for crypto. To invest, basically all you need is a say a Coinbase account or some other exchange, and then a crypto wallet, which could be MetaMask. But using a password manager is great just to keep yourself secure. And lastly, have a 2-factor authentication app. So this would be something on your phone that you can download, and whenever you log into a platform or a software account, it'll send you a text, or it'll send you a notification on your app. You click it, and that way you can verify that it's you and it's not someone who has tried to get access to your credentials.
Thanks, Natalie. Those are great tips. And, and that goes for everyone, regardless of, what you've chosen to do. I should caveat that in no way are we giving any type of financial advice today, right? Whether you choose to make any investments is completely on you. But, Natalie's given us some great tips for, how to do that safely should you make that decision. Awesome. I'd like to open it up to the panel now with a kind of broad question, just to educate our audience on Web3 and blockchain, and maybe some primer tips, just some real basics to educate our audience. If we could talk about the democracy of blockchain and how women fit into the space with some very, very basic building blocks of knowledge. I'd like the panel to just kind of chime in with some of those simple basics.
Well, I can just start off with my first perceptions of blockchain and Web3, having come from partly a tech background. And the first conference I went to about a year ago, I had been hearing about blockchain and Web3 for a while and how it's going to democratize everything. And it was for regular individuals to be able to take advantage and decentralize, right? So we didn't have to rely on these huge tech companies anymore. And yet I go to this conference and I see the same tech bros in the same type of large tech companies, these protocol companies with lots of money. And it was very dude focused. And I was like, this is like Web.2 conferences tech conferences I've been to, but on steroids. And luckily there were some really awesome women there who kind of took me into their fold and like, no, we are going in here and we are going to make a place for ourselves, but we have to do this. No one's going to invite us in. We actually just have to. And then throughout the year, as I started researching, becoming involved with other DAOs, what I realized is that everyone's learning as they go along. And I was intimidated at first, and now I'm not. So it really, but it does, what I realized with my own communities is we need to have so many easier entryways into the space. I can't just throw to a non-technical person some instructions on how to get a wallet and start participating in Discord. Most of my community is not on Discord. So there's some big hurdles still to, in my opinion, in order for this to become accessible to mainstream or general public or, you know, communities I work with.
Thanks, Lee. Any of the other panelists, would you like to chime in a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll chime with this. Oh, go ahead, Natalie. I'll go first.
Okay, just real quick, I don't know who our audience is right now, if they're relatively new to crypto or more experienced, and if they are watching it live or replay or broadcasted somewhere. But I just want to just touch on why blockchain technology is important. And hopefully this is something that you are not aware of. And if it is, then maybe you'll learn something new. You know, blockchain technology, Bitcoin, some of the blockchains, the coins that came afterward were created to provide peer-to-peer decentralized transactions. And then Ethereum came along later, which revolutionized the space by offering smart contracts. And these are trustless, you know, mechanisms that allow for, you know, Web3 applications to be possible. So beyond just financial transactions, like paying someone and receiving, you know, crypto, you can actually program decentralized applications software using smart contracts. So that's why crypto and blockchain is pretty important, and it removes the middleman essentially for a lot of different industries when it's applied. You know, we can have so much innovation in all different industries without having these middlemen that are corporations, and they take, you know, so many profits. Like, for example, Visa, PayPal, like they charge very little per transaction, but there are so many transactions that happen, and it just creates so much wealth for these people at the very top. Crypto democratizes everything for the common person, and it allows people in other countries who might not have access to a bank account, or even if they do, maybe they're under some dictatorial regime. It allows them to actually have wealth themselves through crypto.
Yeah, Natalie, great point. You know, it helps serve the unbanked and the underbanked, regardless of geography, right? It doesn't take much more than a smartphone to have access to crypto. And with, you know, the smart contracts, I see some utility in eliminating escrow accounts. You know, real life example, buying a house, you put money in an escrow, and it's held by a third party. Well, what if it's on a smart contract? And then once those conditions are met, then the funds are released and the transaction can close. You know, then it goes to a DocuSign transaction, right? And it's all dovetails into each other. So there are real world applications that will be developing that we'll start to see on a regular basis with smart contracts. I think it's going to make things a lot safer, and people will be much more comfortable with it. And it does cut down on those fees. So thank you for that. And then someone else wanted to chime in on this particular question.
Yeah, I can chime in a little bit. When I hear the two words democracy, blockchain, or three words, democracy, blockchain, women, I'll admit I'm not like a blockchain genius by whatsoever, but I am very big into activism roles and like feminism and like women's rights and queer rights and all this. And I think what's wonderful about blockchain is like for the first time in history, it's giving us equal start points, if that's making sense, right, in terms of finances. So like if we are big into the history of how our society has run finances in our society in general, I feel that I have an understanding that women has always been sort of this in a place where there's systemic oppression, right? We're not even allowed to have our bank account or even a credit card up until really pretty recently, to be honest. And in addition to that, just the gendered financial advice that we find in society, like you'll see like men, it's like men magazines are like top 5 real estates to invest or the top 5 coins. And then you see like a women geared marketing financial advice, like how to make a dinner under $5. So to me, it's like, this is the time that we get an equal platform, like an equal starting point. And this is why it's so important for women to be a part of blockchain development and to almost like, in a sense, to kind of piggyback, like, you know, there is an advantage to blockchain. All you need is literally a phone, right? And a lot of us do have it already. And it allows it to be accessible for a lot of people. And I think, yeah, hope that makes sense. So it's like giving us all an equal start in terms of like really leading the way this time and possibly really changing the way that our financial structure can take place, you know, can become in society.
Thanks, Hara. Really appreciate that. You know, I think I'm going to move into my last question because we haven't had a chance to hear from Taylor much during our time together. Taylor, can you opine on what women's thought process is on investing in crypto long term, you know, and the utility of it, and where the mindset is, you know, betting now for the future?
Yeah, it's really wild to be in this realm that we can use crypto and real estate, which is why that's my goal, is to put more women using crypto and put a deposit onto their house, and then eventually it's going to transact. But there's so many laws to be worked on and how we go through that transaction. And for example, like I'm a multi-millionaire, I have 3 million in crypto, and I used 20,000 of it, converted it, and that's how I was able to do a down deposit, to put down a deposit on my own house. It's a new build, and I think just when it comes to researching different coins out there, to really do the research and not just listen to executives or celebrities who are trying to push an agenda, and to look more into different organizations and those that you can really rely on. That, for example, one of the things that I'll use is CoinGecko. So if you look at it, it's an amazing app, very transparent, which I'm all about transparency and the longevity of these coins. So of course you want to look into Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and in terms of like the charts too. So understanding charts and how it can help you longevity of it, and also looking at when you have super high markets to super low markets, to also buy into the dip.
Great. Thanks so much, Taylor. Yeah. And, you know, when you talk about like long term, you know, Fidelity announcing that they're offering it as part of their IRA product, right? So it's suddenly becoming an option. Using it to save for children's college educations. You know, there are lots of ways that women and femmes can look longer term for the utility that the various cryptocurrencies bring. So and educating everybody on it, so that they're aware that those are options, I think is going to be a goal for all of us. So, you know, with that, I'd like to turn to all of you and ask for any final words of wisdom, any tips, tricks, advice, guiding principles that you've used in your crypto journey for our audience today.
I've got one quick thing. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that goes along with not following hype and FOMO, because sometimes you might see these DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance projects, offering 1 million% APR annually. That's an extreme example, but there's a lot of stuff out there that preys on people who don't know what they're getting themselves into. And they think that maybe they got in super early, so this is, feasible.
Another
Yeah,
thing I would like
absolutely.
to add. So another thing I would like to add and to let all of you know is that you don't have to just focus more on the other coins, just kind of look more towards how you can leverage and build up multiple coins. Because the most that I get asked on is, are there specific coins that we should only be looking at? I have a wide range of coins that I have on top of Bitcoin. And that app works wonders. And coming from, I also teach financial literacy. You can use your credit, personal and your business credit, and to leverage, to use that on credit into the crypto as well. So there's multiple ways that you can use your credit, or even just using like your savings account, because every little bit adds up. And I think people forget about that.
Great, thanks,
I would
Taylor.
say my one tip is just to be highly organized. I started off my crypto investing not being as organized, different spreadsheets, and that can get really difficult. So just keep a really good ledger for yourself, however you do that. It doesn't need to be high tech even. And as piggybacking on what someone else said about getting overwhelmed, that happened for me both in the crypto space and in the Web3 blockchain space, like participating in all these Twitter spaces and it's just, and I thought like I had to be in at that time because otherwise I was going to miss opportunities, and it's not true. This is, if this is going to be around for a long time, we have a long time to plan and to get into it. And one of the things I've really enjoyed about crypto investing is, with my other investing, it was always done through my jobs or me just putting something into like an ETF. And this, I've actually taken my own values. So I've, invested in some tokenized real estate coin, like people who are doing tokenized real estate because I work in housing. So being able to like research companies who you think might, be making moves and inroads into spaces that you value. And so that's fun to be able to invest that way as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Lee, especially tracking the tax consequences of your investments, both the positive and then the harvesting tax losses at times, should that be necessary. Excellent advice. Anything else from our panelists before we do a wrap?
Yeah, I'll add something, kind of the overarching of what I think this conversation is about is take the time to find your people that are not in it banking on you as exit liquidity, but where everybody wins. And the bigger mindset of why, anchoring into your why and why you're finding your community, and not feeling like you have to go it alone, and also not being afraid to realizing that some spaces are not, don't have your best interest in mind. And so having clarity in your plan and your why as to your invest in why you're investing, but also clarity, passion, and your why for yourself, so that and so that you can filter as to where and what you want to do in this space. Because there are lots and lots of opportunities, fantastic opportunities, and there's a very bright future. There are also some very bad actors, and giving yourself the grace to keep going if you do fall for those, because a lot of people do, and it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just an opportunity to go, okay, wait, what can I learn from this, and where can I keep going?
Yeah, that's great advice, Em. Yeah, I call it finding your tribe, right? Find your like-minded people who support you. Finding your tribe. All right, any last words?
I just
Sure.
threw something down in the chat. So it's gonna be the top 10, rules of thumb to live by in your crypto journey, especially if you're a brand new beginner. That should be very helpful. So it's there in the chat, link.cryptofemme.org/disruptors. And if that was good, if you enjoy that resource, then there is more where that came from in the CryptoFemme community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie. I'd like to thank all of my panelists today that are part of the CryptoFemme community. So Natalie, Lee, Taylor, Hara, I really appreciate your expertise today. We thank you so much, and we'll see you all at the next session. Thank you.